Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something called HUMAN-5. It's a new educational framework that tackles a huge question. In an age where AI can write and translate almost perfectly, what is the point of what we're teaching? So let's just get right to it with a question that's on everyone's mind. It's something students and teachers are wrestling with all over the world, but it's especially pointed if you're, say, studying a language. And this isn't just some abstract hypothetical question. This is a real quote from a real university student in Taiwan. And it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this crisis of confidence that's shaking up education right now. The old rules just don't apply anymore. To really get what HUMAN-5 is trying to solve, you have to understand the context. You have to look at the specific place where that student's question came from. English as a foreign language, or EFL, education in Taiwan. Okay, so this is where things get really fascinating because there's a paradox here. Students in Taiwan show up to university having studied English for over a decade. I mean, they're experts in grammar rules. They have massive vocabulary lists memorized. But, and this is the key, the system has trained them to see English as a performance, something they're constantly being judged on. So what happens when you throw them into a real, messy, spontaneous conversation? A lot of them just freeze. All that risk-taking, that personal voice, it's been squeezed right out of them. So you've got that paradox on one hand and the rapid rise of AI on the other. What do? Well, the answer proposed here is a new framework. It's called HUMAN-5, and it's all about rebuilding our advantage by focusing on the things that make us, well, human. So what is HUMAN-5 really? At its heart, it's about shifting the focus away from just being correct and onto 5 core skills. You've got taste, which is your personal judgment, agency, your ability to actually shape the situation, velocity, how fast you can think and adapt, intent, your deeper purpose, and interruptibility, which is just that messy, back and forth, spontaneous nature of real conversation. You know, all the stuff that AI is really not good at. Okay, so that's the theory, but a framework is just a bunch of ideas on paper until you actually try it out. So let's see how HUMAN-5 looked when it was put into practice in a real university classroom in Taiwan. And this slide just lays out the difference so clearly. On the one hand, you have the traditional class. It's led by the teacher. You follow the prompts. The main goal is to be correct. On the other hand, you've got the HUMAN-5 classroom. It's the total opposite. It's student-driven. It's about shaping the conversation. And the focus is on being adaptable, even embracing when things go wrong. The entire goal shifted from teaching students how to follow a conversation to teaching them how to lead one. That's a huge change. All right, so how did they actually do this? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, because some of these classroom activities were, well, they were pretty unconventional. To start getting them to take charge, to build that sense of agency, they started with something called a topic auction. So students had to bring in their own topics, things they actually wanted to talk about. But then they had to sell those topics to the rest of the class. They had to learn how to make a topic sound interesting, how to frame it so other people would want to engage. Right away, they're learning that agency isn't just about what you want, it's about connecting with others. All right, next up, to build speed, what HUMAN-5 calls velocity, they use this drill, the conversation carousel, and it's intense. You talk to one partner about one topic for 60 seconds. Then you get just 5 seconds to switch to a totally new partner and a completely different topic. And yeah, at first, it was total chaos, as you can imagine. But that was kind of the point. It wasn't about saying things perfectly. The drill was designed to train their brains to adapt on the fly, to trust themselves to just jump in and start messy and refine their thoughts as they went. They didn't just become faster talkers, they became faster thinkers. This quote is amazing. It came from another exercise called the broken plan, where the class would be working on a shared goal, and then suddenly the instructor would just throw in a wrench that disrupted everything. For a student to then step up and say, let's reset. That's not just reacting to the problem. That is taking agency. That's a leadership move, redirecting the group and reframing the goal. And this all built up to the point where the students themselves were designing their own complex conversation games for each other. And check out the role of AI here. It wasn't used as a crutch to write their sentences for them. It was used as a tool for unpredictability, like a randomizer or a persona generator, just to throw curveballs that they would have to adapt to in real time. So these drills, they sound really creative and innovative. But the big question is always, did any of it actually work? Did it make a difference? Let's look at the transformation. The very first piece of evidence wasn't something you'd see on a test paper. It was something you could hear. The entire sound of the classroom changed. Instead of these quiet, stilted, one person at a time exchanges, conversations became loud, messy, alive. Students started interrupting each other in a good way, asking real follow-up questions, challenging each other, all without waiting for the teacher's permission. And the student's reflection just sums up the before mindset perfectly. This is that passive learner we talked about, the one who's been trained by the system for years to just wait for instructions. And then here's the after. It's an incredible transformation, right? She feels like she can guide the conversation now. And that final question she asks herself, what does this conversation need right now? That is everything. That is agency in a nutshell. It's taking ownership. And when they actually looked at the data, it was really telling. They had a control group that took a more traditional class. And sure, that group got better at grammatical accuracy, which is fine. But that's also something AI can do perfectly. The HUMAN-5 group, though, they showed huge gains in agency and adaptability. In other words, they improved on the skills AI can't touch. And this brings us right back around to where we started. This experiment in Taiwan, it was about more than just teaching English better. It's a powerful blueprint, a potential roadmap for what education everywhere might need to become in this new world. So the final question really isn't just for language teachers. It's for all of us. What are the truly human skills that we should be building?